too many people want social content to do everything instead of being the amuse-bouche to the thing you want them to do. I think, for example, I would tell you that I'm incredibly misunderstood as a businessman because my social media content can't do the depths of what I do. There is no videos where I'm talking like this, where like who I am as an actual business person does not really show up with my social. I just let my social do the appetizer part, and then with the hopes that people will go down the path. And a lot of times where you have depth and you have a real business, you get caught up because you're trying to make a little bit more happen in the content, which doesn't mean be inauthentic and just do whatever will work on social, but think strategically of like, what will this TikTok do when they decide to click the default URL in our profile instead of maybe trying to make 2 or 3 things happen in a piece. Awesome, so maybe we can go around and maybe just do some intros and tell me what business you're in, and then we'll go into kind of the direct Q&A, time to be selfish and just ask away at your questions. So
yeah,
start over here.
Yeah.
Alice Kim, I have a sustainable women's wear company for ladies with a larger chest, so double D, who are not plus size, so size 0 to 14, underserved demographic. So we're eliminating the shame by, we're changing the game by eliminating the shame.
Awesome.
That's what we say.
Where are you based?
New York.
Awesome.
Chris McClurg out of Chicago. I have a family-owned print business, and so kind of looking to how do we evolve as businesses have kind of evolved, right?
Yes.
And how do we integrate those
Very cool.
from a digital and print side?
How long has the company been around?
Well, 80 years.
Wow, that's amazing.
This piece of it, 30 some. That's part of the challenge, is we're known
For
a
that.
certain segment of our business, and we have to go fast because it's
A changing one. Yeah, understood. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Brody Hansen. I make a clean label energy drink called Work Water. It's I made it for myself. I was a working professional, 15 years as an engineer, management consultant, and 2 monsters a day. It turns out it's not a healthy thing. So I created this to solve a couple problems. One is the ingredients themselves. So no more multiple stimulants, no more artificial ingredients. There's only 5 ingredients on the label, all natural. And the second is the aesthetic. I was tired of putting a rainbow shooting fireworks on my desk at work. And so we're now at the point.
I love that comment.
So we're now at the point where we've got the production of the beverage solid. Took me over 2 years to get to that point.
Yeah, of course.
The whole thing.
Of course.
So now I get to do the fun part, which is come here and figure out how to make the world aware of it and get it sold.
And you're
Good for you.
Canadian, right?
Yes, Eastern Canada.
Cool.
Brody was actually here 2 years ago. He flew in for the 4Ds right before the shutdown. He had dinner with Nick, and so we're really stoked that he was able to come out for this.
I'm glad.
Serendipitous timing too. Because I ran into so many problems after that all this stuff would have had to wait anyway. So
Very cool.
I'm secretly
Pleasure.
blessed that it happened.
Real pleasure, Birdie.
Hi, I'm Alex Pinelli.
Hey, Alex.
My business partner Tim Moran and I own and operate Fat Scooters, which is an two-wheel electric vehicle company that started originally in 2017. We were the largest investor in the company.
What was that?
We were the senior creditors to the company. Took over the company about a year ago.
Understood.
Turned it around, and now that the company has been readjusted to be a profitable platform, now we're actually looking to scale that.
Sure.
profitable platform.
Good for you guys. Awesome.
We brought Jeremy in with them. Jeremy's a good friend of the family. He's been bringing a lot of companies into the 4Ds, so he
Yep,
happened to be
I'm
in New
aware.
York, and we decided.
It's awesome. Good to see you again, Jer. Good.
You already heard my story, so. I'm Billy Richardson. I was in LA last time, and
I remember.
so I was so impressed. And so I got for my sister for Christmas. 'Cause she's
That's amazing.
heavy into
So cool.
social media and stuff like that, and I thought she would learn a ton of stuff. So.
It's great to see you again, Billy.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
Hey, Melissa.
And I have a social first platform called Particulars, where I basically talk about all things fashion, accessories related. And then as part of that, I have an interview series. So I've interviewed over 100 female founders and tell their stories, and we always tie it back to their particulars. What's particular to you is completely different than what's particular to me. I just launched my first product.
Very cool.
The Nice Pack. Need in case of emergency. So this was definitely kind of during the pandemic. I wasn't carrying like my Celine bag or my fancy stuff anymore. I was going for my Patagonia fanny pack or my like shitty Amazon
Of course.
pack. but nothing had exposed pockets on the outside, so there's pockets for all of your particulars also. So like your phone can fit in your AirPods, or it could be your, I don't know, hand sanitizer, whatever.
Sure.
I produce everything in LA, and we started selling them in October, and it's doing well. So
That's awesome.
looking to really ramp this up and also try to figure out how to monetize the particulars and figure out what to do with my interview series that's different than...
Or replicate what has naturally come to you, which is continue to just build up the particulars as a leverage point to more product and being the consumer business. Understood. Yeah. Awesome.
Hey, Gary, thanks for having me. My name is Charles Weiner. I'm here with my team. Name of my company is The Handsome Home Buyer. I have a vertically integrated real estate development firm on Long Island, New York, where we fix and flip volumes of houses, do commercial development, and now I have a company where we're 3D printing houses out of concrete, as well as the interior pieces out of recycled plastic bottles.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm Emily.
Pam.
I do like marketing and social media work.
That's awesome.
My name is Levy. I'm his videographer, editor, content creator.
It's awesome. It's a pleasure to meet you guys.
Controversial topic. I'm tapping into a category that the fashion industry really hasn't tapped into. So there's regular size, there's
Makes
plus
all the
size,
sense in the world.
So you're size inclusive, but we're not shape inclusive.
Sure.
So I'm a size 0 or 2, and I can't fit into half the clothes. When I was banker, before I went into fashion, button downs, gape open, suit jackets don't close across my chest.
Makes sense.
So figuring this out.
Do you know how big the addressable market is?
20 million women. So 68%
20 million
in the US.
In the US.
So 68% of women are plus size, so size 16 and up.
Yep.
So the balance, 32%, about
Of that.
50-50 is A to C cup versus D cups and up. So if you look in the room right now, majority of us fall into the demographic.
Yep.
Yes. So this is, data for you right here.
Sure.
So I have patent pending styles, so button down, sports bras coming. It's a lifestyle brand, but how do I become the Lululemon, the Spanx of the world, dominating this category when a lot of editors and stuff, they don't even want to touch it.
Well, the good news is you don't live in an editor-dominated world.
Right.
I mean, I had a meeting yesterday internally of like, I've been thinking about PR for about 3 years right now, which is, should we create a VaynerX company that does PR? PR does not exist the way everybody in here just thought of it. I actually think editors are leverageless. I think that they are pretty much being affected by what happens online in social, and they're being affected up. So I think first and foremost, eliminating the classic thinking of that is even a thing, I think can liberate you in a big way, because it's just not. Like, you genuinely don't need them. And as someone who's been paying attention very heavily to everything going on in the business world, there's no brand that's being built right now that is built by editors or PR. So I think you eliminate that, and I think the next question becomes, what are you gonna do when it works, is actually what I'm more focused on. So what do I mean by that? I mean, for everybody here, and it's gonna get repeated 100 times, I can't repeat it enough. The underpriced nature of TikTok right now is just like the 7th fucking time this has happened, and I'm like, and it's really been a fun one, because I actually think by the 7th time I've gotten enough emails this time of like, all right, I didn't do the Instagram thing, I didn't do the Facebook thing, I didn't do the search thing, I didn't do the email thing, like I'm doing this one and it's working. It will work for you on TikTok. It will. If you put out 4 pieces of organic content a day, if you actually get your media if you get your media against creative right on TikTok, it will work in a way that you can't imagine. You can't imagine. I'm telling that to the majority of you. It is such scaled, underpriced attention and brand awareness and influence on Instagram. See, people don't think of things 3-dimensionally. TikTok's winning because you're just getting a lot more eyeballs for the price. The price of your time, the price of your content, and definitely the price of your media. But it's also impacting the content on Instagram because it's emerging as the cool thing. It's almost like the hottest club in New York affecting like a good restaurant. Like subconsciously, people don't look at things this way, but that's what happens. And progressive young editors are living in that space, deciding what they're gonna write about on their .coms or in print. And so I think that for your business, if I was your CMO, I would spend 80% of my time, energy, and money on TikTok. 80.
And I think I'm my biggest detriment because I'm in my 40s. So I'm not used to a camera following me around.
You don't need to go that extreme, right? I remember when TikTok first hit, I was like, you don't have to dance just because that's what I don't dance. I have 13 million followers. I haven't danced. I can't dance. It's not a good thing.
He can dance, he can move.
But no, honestly, I don't, couple things. One, nobody here has to be the face. Everyone can be the face. I think you should definitely do it. I think it would work. Because you've got to understand, one thing that's interesting about TikTok is the reason TikTok's so important, even for the B2B companies in here, is there's so many more 40, 50, and 60-year-olds on the platform than people realize, which means people are underserving those ads, right? So you're gonna have a wide gap. For a lot of people, you will work. For other people, it should be the product. For other people, it should be the influencers that you give product to, that you then use their content. But that is absolutely where you should be putting your time and energy. And I'll tell you why it's important. There's only, it's just supply and demand. There's just moments when you go all in. It's if anybody plays poker, I don't, but I definitely know this part. When you really know how to play poker and you're looking at the board, you know when you have the single best hand. You know it, because you know how to play poker and you know of what you can see, you have the nuts or whatever it's called. You go all in. That's what I do in marketing when I know a platform is at enough scale that it's hitting enough people and the content organically is getting seen by a lot of people and the media is wildly underpriced, and there hasn't been something this good like TikTok this year since Facebook fan pages 2012. That's a long time. And if you think about the companies that were built during that, the companies that were built during Instagram 2015, 16, 14, 13, 14, 15, 16, Gymshark, Fashion Nova, like you can't do Gymshark and Fashion Nova today on Instagram. It's too expensive, right? You can't do it. TikTok is the punchline and you will crush on that platform. And I think what I'm thinking through is it's controversial because, no matter how much a woman that has that situation is affected, that it's an inconvenience, popular culture doesn't look at it as an inconvenience. And so what I think you need to be thinking about is when it works, the level of backlash that a Lululemon or Gymshark wouldn't get, you may get some in a world where the world is so sensitive about everything. And so again, if I was the CMO, I'd be like, this is gonna work because we're gonna just go all in on TikTok. I would be thinking, I need to make sure she's ready for the level of comment backlash and how are we gonna deal with that and what is our emotional and strategic business positioning on it? Because visually it's going to work. It just is. And so I think that's what you should be thinking about. I definitely think TikTok's big. I think the other thing you can do that can mitigate what I'm referring to is to start a podcast, right? Where you take the subject matter of being different, left, right, being different in a good way. I look at trends. I think beauty privilege is about to get attacked very aggressively. Like it's just so obvious what's shaping up. Like that's gonna be interesting. Right? Like we're demonizing everything. And so I think a podcast of just being different. One week you might have somebody who has a disability, terminal illness, muscle-bound super dude who is incredibly smart and people think he's a doof. I think you could build a platform for that which might work very well as a complement to dominating TikTok. You see where I'm going?
Yep, and organically, so with a limited budget on TikTok.
Yeah, so if you have a limited budget, this is why I'm pushing all of you in the world, and I have been, as many of you who follow me. This is not a new song for me. It's just, it's at its last great year or two, where it's good because unlike 3-4 years ago, it's older. So 4 years ago, it was so young that if you're selling something to 40-year-olds, it was okay. Now it's in that perfect year. So you've got another year. You've got another 12 to 24 months minimally, and I'll tell you why. TikTok is built on the interest graph, not on the social graph. So what you get is what you're into, not who you follow. In theory, that's why I invested in Tumblr years ago, and it worked out for me. They didn't build it all the way through. It got bought by Yahoo. But I don't say this because it was historically not correct. But there was a part of me that was more enthusiastic about Tumblr than Facebook and Twitter when I invested in those 3 companies. And it was because I believed that the interest graph was more interesting than the social graph. Because I have tons of best friends, but we don't share all the same interests. I don't want to talk to my friend about fishing that he's passionate about. And so I always thought that was gonna be the big one. So when TikTok started hitting, I'm like, oh shit, here it is. Here's the thing I've been thinking about. Which also makes me believe that organic may forever play on TikTok. Right? In theory, that shouldn't run out of fatigue. I think there'll be government involved. I'm starting to try to figure out what's gonna happen with TikTok in America and China and all that, but organic will be great, but I need you to do 4 a day. Yeah, like that's a whole different game. But that is, like, this is where I get sad. It's almost like working out, like doing the right things, right? When, it's so, everybody here who wants to get into better shape and physical conditioning, I've got great news. Eat cleaner and healthier and work out. That's it. I'll see you next time. Same with this. People are like, I have a limited budget. And I'm like, 4 TikToks organically a day. They're like, I'm like, well, you can't have both. You don't have the budget. What you have is your sweat equity. I think it will really genuinely work, but then being great at TikTok is what you need to think about. Like actually understanding how it works. Like skits and content and overlays, but not being scared to lose. If you look at my TikTok right now, my last 15 posts, they can vary from 3 million views to 30,000 views. And that's not bad, that just is what it is. So don't get down on it. But I mean, look, the reality is it's gonna work. It just is. I know you don't want guys gawking at the content, like that's not like, it's just gonna work because the people that are gonna need to see it will see it.
Well, my retention rate is ridiculous, so it's
of course,
over 60%
because
and single-digit return rates, which in DTC, that's unheard of.
You're gonna win because you're addressing a white space. You're gonna have a problem once you get real traction because everyone's gonna follow that. But for now, let's get to that problem.
So as I said, we've been in business 80 some years, kind of 2 segments of our business. A print for awards and recognition is kind of where it started, mostly in the medical field. And we've expanded out in the last 30 years into the more of a B2B print space.
Understood.
My background has been with the Fortune 100, so I was with 3M doing digital marketing, then AbbVie, which owns Humira, so we ran that center of excellence. So very familiar with the digital space, but kind of trying to, James was saying yesterday, being the king of the pivot, as he called you, as we think of that, think of our business, the direct marketing, the print space, and the evolution that's taking. How do you see that evolution and where do we go?
This is a challenging one because there's more homework required for me to truly answer you in the best way that I can, but I will say this. Fighting the actual market is the scariest thing of my life, which is why I'm always pivoting, because I have no interest in fighting the market. I assume for the rest of all of our lives, there'll be plenty of things printed. Like even with NFTs and the metaverse, everyone's like, I'm like, it's gonna take 50 years before we're living in the metaverse the way people are thinking it's gonna happen tomorrow. We'll be living there, but it's gonna be we live digitally now. Most of us are on our phones 4, 6, 9 hours a day. So I think the thing that you need to figure out is in declining market share. So is the overall market declining?
The overall market is declining. Yeah.
Double digits each year? Like really intensely?
Yeah, it depends on which segment you're looking at, but yes.
Yeah, my intuition is this becomes a very simple game of like real life, meaning real life, what would you like to happen? There's the ideology part, which is this has been a business in the family for a long time. And so you might be emotionally invested in that story and want it to continue. And so thus you need to heavily innovate into the way I think about what Nintendo did. Nintendo started as a playing card company. They are not that today. So I think if you want to see this business last past you because of the way it's gone, you're gonna have to be in a different business because I don't think it'll be sustainable. If you don't mind, because you think, I don't know what your children's situation or then you've got to dominate market share until you're ready to be done? That's the actual answer to this business question. Do you start a completely different business that could be tangentially attached to it? Your printing infrastructure might be the reason you start a direct-to-consumer book business. It might be. But you could literally go into a completely different business. You could, as a division, whether it's making board games, making digital games, you could go anywhere. But you're not gonna change the market.
Right.
The market's gonna keep doing what it's doing.
Yeah, and I think
and especially with NFTs coming, like what's gonna end up happening is because they're gonna be utilities, people are gonna go away from email and QR codes to NFTs, let alone print. So it's gonna put more pressure on the overall philosophy. And as you know, every day there's a decision maker dying or retiring that has held on to print, and the person taking that job is not doing print.
Yeah.
And that puts pressure.
And I guess I have no tie to the actual machine putting ink on paper, right?
Correct.
I find, we try to help local businesses find, attract, engage, and retain, right? I mean, the whole life cycle that we're talking about, which is evolving into a
But you have
digital
you have so many cogs into your infrastructure. You could, to your point, if you want to build a digital division, we've seen that happen for the last 25 years. Plenty of people in the print direct mail business and all the versions of it have done that. I'm challenging you to, that's the easy thing to think about, because we've watched companies like yours do that for the last 25 years. I think service providing, even though I do it at scale, is a shit business. It's not fun. Yes, sir. So, one opportunity is to take your infrastructure and create a consumer business instead of a service business. I always like to think that way of like, well, we've got these assets, we can make shit. Should we make something to sell? Obviously a totally different gear of being in B2C than B2B, but it's a good time to debate it.
Yeah. What's funny is it's not our consumer business, but like the Etsy world has been coming, like we've been growing as the creatives are creative, but they have no outlet to actually produce. So it almost becomes more of a wholesale model, but it is, they're looking, and that big supply chain sucks to deal. If anybody's outsourced to anybody, oftentimes sucks.
100%.
They're not good at responding, and so we're like, hey, can we take our family, feel where it's a high touch, personal, and say you're going to get that personal aspect of that business, right?
The answer is yes. And then it becomes a game of marketing on LinkedIn and Google search and pre-roll YouTube to win that market share.
So the other piece of our business.
Hey, people are gonna always make things on paper, till the end. I just think it's the way you position it and where you decide to market against which behaviors, to your point. Etsy didn't exist 20 years ago.
Thanks. And so the other piece of our business is an awards and recognition space. We have been in the medical space, so if you go to your doctor and they're board certified, I've printed that certificate.
Oh, interesting.
I've owned that business for 80 years.
Yep.
Started with nursing pins when you had to have a pin on your hat, right? When you went into
That's cool.
That's evolved now, but they still print these really high-end certificates. We do all that printing, all that framing for them. But that brings us to the NFT space.
Okay.
So they're laggards. So literally I'm like, hey, can you make us a PDF so they can go to the hospital and show them certificate? Because we have doctors like ripping out their certificates out of frames in order to show it to a hospital to say that I'm board. It's nuts. And it's like, it still goes, but they're not willing to even invest because a lot of them don't, those boards are not big money. They're big, there's only a few people in some of them, but they own that space. If you're a surgeon, you have to be board certified, right? Like that, you don't work in a hospital without being board certified. So we're trying to help.
But you need to have the manifestation in physical form to like.
A lot of times, or they call and they'll get a letter from the board. I mean, there's just a lot of things that we are trying. Just the proof that they have been, and they'll get a physical letter from the board saying that they're board certified. And some are more evolved than.
Yeah, that is a out of central casting of a business that's going to be disrupted by the blockchain.
Yeah, and so how do you compete?
You're thinking the right way. To your point, you create it. So something else, it's always the same thing. Put yourself out of business before someone else does. I think the way you need to think about it is get incredibly educated and become the creative and infrastructure that builds the board certified NFTs. You do them in NFT form, always, starting tomorrow, but you print it and give it to them still, and then in a cycle of 15 years, you'll have that leverage. It's almost like the evolution of the pin that your grandfather, started. You do it now, so you are that, and the market comes to you because there's not a very heavy cost for you to do it.
Yeah. So, launched the brand about, I guess 5 months ago. And
What's the distribution?
Distribution is, right now I can service the eastern half of Canada direct to consumer.
Okay.
And as of next week or the week after, anywhere in the US, leveraging Amazon's multi-channel fulfillment. Most sales are through Shopify website at buyworkwater.com.
Right, for the Eastern Canada part.
Yep.
Yep.
And that'll be the same thing for US. So
Understood.
through my Shopify site, Amazon will fulfill.
I see.
And let's see.
So the only place somebody can buy it is on your .com.
In like 30 local stores that I'm servicing.
Yep.
I'm having the conversations, starting to have the conversations with retailers,
Yep.
distributors, but the lead time on all that is so long. I want to immediately focus on direct to consumer. That'll help me build leverage with those conversations.
100%.
Anyway, and drive sales so that I can make this a viable
Own
business.
your own data.
Yeah. So right now I'm at the point, next week launching 2 new flavors. So this one is the original. It's like a cream soda with notes of coconut, 10 calories, sweet with stevia. The other 2 are lemon and blue raspberry. So pretty excited about that. And 2 weeks ago, hired a full-time paid intern to start posting TikToks full-time. So he's doing about 4 videos a day.
Very good.
The first 2 weeks have been good.
Good.
Active mostly on Instagram and Facebook, which has just been kind of organic local community that has followed me up behind the brand.
Yep.
All sales to date, but I've done about 25,000 in the last few months, all earned media, just reaching at the local paper, the nightly news picked it up and
Yep.
shared it. So that's been kind of the journey to date. And so now where I'm at is.
So it's been a .com for 5 months, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And how much, like what kind of sales are you at?
So $25,000 in sales.
Period in that 5 months.
Yeah,
Understood.
It's been about 20,000.
And how much is it?
5,000 local stores. It sells for $30 for a 12-pack.
$30 for a 12-pack. Understood.
You can.
That's Canadian?
Canadian, yeah. US will be similar in US dollars.
Got it. I know, I get it.
balance down
Yep.
there. But target is to price it similar to a Monster Energy, like a premium, other unhealthy energy drink. I want
Yep.
it to not be too cost differentiated from those to make it accessible. So right now, I'm at the point where I've got production good, distribution is now in place, and I need to build awareness, make people consider it, order from the website. Doing the TikTok thing.
How much money are you gonna have for marketing this year?
As what I'd like to figure out quickly is how I can drive sales. People that like the product love it and reorder. Like my customer lifetime value, I think is going to be quite high. It's still too new to get some data on that, but I would love. I've ran some Facebook, Instagram ads, and for every $100 I run, I get about $200, $250 in sales, just with straight up call to action. Buy this because like it more. So one thing I'd like.
That will get way more expensive at scale. That's the problem.
But I feel like I can reach a threshold of that working to get enough sales that. So my scenario is I've had to extract myself out of working for another company for 15 years. So the last 3 years have been started my own company, switched to doing.
Have you raised capital?
Nope, but I've saved up money. So the last few years I've been doing consulting as a contractor, and so I've got.
Would you be open to raising capital?
I would soon, I think.
You want more.
Very opaque answer.
Well, it's a fair question. I mean, I think it's to your point and to your point. I mean, you probably want to build up more leverage to get a better valuation. That makes sense. I also believe that we are in the greatest era of money being printed in perpetuity with no logic. Thus, investing is wild out there, and you've got people that are literally writing $25,000 and $100,000 checks that have no business doing that, and maybe you can prey on that, to your advantage. it's something worth thinking about. Because what I'm most concerned about is beverage direct to consumer is hard. Like in the direct to consumer hardcore Shopify mafia, all the kids that left there in the last decade who are like the experts that run around the world, literally the first meeting you have with any of them, Gareth, Robbie, all these guys and gals I know, if you talk anything about DTC, the first question they'll ask is, you're not doing beverage, are you? That's how fearful it is because of how competitive the margins and how heavy it is to ship. And I always have a lot of empathy because I built a large direct-to-consumer wine business, and every day I'm like, man, I wish my dad had a food store instead of a wine store, because I would have built a much bigger company. So I think the reason, and you know, a lot of you have probably had a good sense of my content for a long time. Like I rarely go to capital first. It's like, it doesn't even usually come out of my mouth. I don't even think of like ever. But I think you're gonna find yourself there. I really genuinely do. On the flip side, luckily we have this one thing going on right now. It's called TikTok. It is absolutely the wild card for you. You know, obviously it's gonna be the variable of how good that intern is or you are. But I think sending product to micro influencers, if we're gonna do the scrappy thing, which is what you're doing, I'm here for it. I think what you need to do is find people that have 10 to 100,000 followers on TikTok and send them 3 cans, 2 cans, 1 can at a time. I mean, this is literally what I did back in the day. So I did this for years. I know this game. It works, but it is a fucking grind. You know, shipping 1 can at a high cost per ship of the can, times 47 different people a day, times getting to 47 people to give you their address, times only 4 of those 47 actually post when it's all said and done. But it's there for you. It's there for you.
So I'm absolutely up for that. And the reason I gave the opaque answer around
Yeah.
investment was I made a conscious decision that, you know, I've got some money saved up. I can start this. I can build it to a good enough point that
You'll have
maybe
leverage.
then I'll start
Yep.
thinking about that after
Yep.
the conversation. So I think we're getting closer to that.
Yeah, and I think Facebook ads are still an incredibly efficient thing. Obviously with iOS 14.5 update where you can't retarget, there's a little bit of a, excuse me, thank you everyone. There's a little bit of like a bigger challenge, but I think given the category that you have, much like the first business we talked about, I think you're primed for a TikTok, and TikToks, invasion. What I would recommend for both of you and a couple more coming up is actually spend 15 to 30 actual hours really studying it. You know, like what's amazing about it is you could really do anything. And you can learn through doing anything, but really understanding it, I think is, you know, hashtags, trends, just really being in it. It is definitely your calling card. When, and soon for you, when something hits virality, turning that into a performance ad is a huge opportunity. So now you have organic virality, then you rejigger that slightly with the copy, maybe even with the content, but probably not too much because you don't want to take away the magic, and turn that into a paid ad for conversion. Very, very big opportunity.
And one of the things I was going to say on your debt side, you could do it also with debt on the performance of your, so you can, instead of maintaining your real, very low dollars, right? So what you would do is somebody said, okay, you go out and perform X, Y, Z, and we're going to take a percentage off those sales. You still keep your equity.
Yeah, and you have a great Canadian company, right? Clearbank, I think. Yeah, right. Yeah, so there's a lot of options, but I think again, the category you're in is very conducive to TikTok, and so I really don't want you to rely just on the intern. I want you to put in the 15 to 30 hours. It's your business.
Awesome. I'll sneak this.
Yeah,
I talked
sneak it.
More with James about this last night, so he knows more. But I have an NFT project as well. I own a VeeFriend. That's been awesome. That whole.
Thank you.
So if I end up getting time, talk.
Cool. Yeah, let's
go to fat scooters. Yeah. So let's start with the macroeconomic backdrop. Unlike Chris,
yep.
We're at the early stages of a massive, you know,
right, the reverse
opportunity.
Yeah.
Electric vehicles.
Eat it, Chris.
I know, right? You know, I gotta take this. Sorry.
No worries.
Between tens and hundreds of trillions are the estimates of what the future value of this marketplace is. So great macroeconomic tailwinds. The
Which comes with a lot of its own headaches too.
Well, it really does.
Yeah, it does.
And the microeconomics are now really good because we have
Fixed it.
done, and the branding for our niche in the industry has been really strong. We have a premium product. It's recognized as a premium product. We drive 60% plus gross margins now, thanks to Tim's exceptional work on bill of materials and positioning. And so we have a great customer base because we have celebrity and high profile, a laundry list, hundreds and hundreds.
How much is it?
About $4,000 all in after you accessorize.
Everything's better with music.
And we've got these, celebs and professional athletes who have paid real money, full price, for our products.
Can't make that shit up.
Okay.
What is that?
It's a fire alarm with nobody in the building.
Keep going.
Go ahead.
And so,
And run.
so the previous management team, they did some nice, going from 0 to 3 is different than going from 3 to 30.
Of
and 30
course.
to 300. So, they were very.
Want to check on it?
They were very narrow and
Thank you.
parochial in their vision. We're sort of changing the conversation from being a electric micro-mobility company.
1 second. Please stand by.
Check. They're gonna check. Ground floor they had a notification, ground floor, they're gonna notify.
Go ahead.
So
Is it all direct to consumer?
it has been
Historically.
We have maybe something that's more unique than what other people have, which is we have to have service, in-warranty service and out-of-warranty customer service.
It's a good
And
business.
Doing that out of Phoenix doesn't make sense.
And we have both.
Yeah.
So we have, the interesting thing about the product, and I apologize because I work on it every day.
No worries. Go ahead.
So you look at Apple.
Yep.
Right, we all understand that. I went out and I did all the field work, and when I found out our consumer is supposedly it's not.
Right.
Consumer's a 60-year-old man. Right? It's 98% of our sales are 30 years old and above. But when I got out into the field, I said, well, wait a minute. I thought, stupidly, that they had to write it first. That's what you would think. And then when I actually asked them, 71% of our consumer had never ridden the unit. So then that gives you, right, he bought one. We talked about this last night. So 71% bought it. Then when I started to ask, how long have you seen it? Once, few times, never. 81% never saw it, and they bought it on site. So that's Apple-esque type numbers when you get that type of conversion. So what I'm interested in is, I don't know if I'm a finance background, and so I would take it public, because right now in this market, I started here in '91 in New York, and I remember the NASDAQ talking about Cisco, and I thought it was a food company, right? Oh, who's these guys? I went to Santa Clara, so I should have known, right? So, but the point I'm making is that I feel it's very similar in that space. There's only going to be certain survivors, as you know.
Of course.
Right. But we aren't micro-mobility. We're urban mobility. We're 3 to 30 miles. Average person travels 23 miles a day. I mean, think about New York, it's 9 miles, right? 23 miles a day in a 4,094-pound vehicle. So we can take you 30, 35 miles. I'm 260 pounds, right? So we're not talking about the slight of,
Yeah, of course.
We're talking about average Americans. So what I'm interested in is, do we grow it and do I exchange that value for what I can hit today? It's weird because I'm not a founder. You read Bain Capital's founder's mentality, and you look at this founder. Now I brought a founder's mentality to the company after the fact. But it's interesting to me because I've never been in this situation. It's throughput, right? I have to make it, I have to sell it, and I have to make those match at the exact same time. Never had that experience before.
Yep.
With services, which you know how miserable those can be.
Of course.
As they call you if they want. So what I'm looking for is, how can this group help us, with that decision? I believe in TikTok tremendously. We just did one, just with the crew after we finished at the LPGA show and the LPGA event at Lake Nona, and it was like 17,000 immediate, and it was just us going through Epcot Center.
Right.
No one famous.
Yep.
But so I really want to know what your thoughts are in the space, and we're not a scooter. We're not a scooter.
That I know.
We are not a scooter. We are fat rides. And so hence I bought the name. But that's what I want to stay with. So I just would love your thoughts because you're.
Well, I think I appreciate that. I think it's about reverse engineering because the one thing I heard there is, do I take it public, right? I mean, obviously I'm sure the three of you thought through that little moment of SPACs and things of that nature, right? Of course. And so it's really just a different version of raising capital. Like it's all about timing of what you want the outcome to be. I always, when there's moments like I just referenced with like something like TikTok, and I'm glad that you've already had that micro little taste, anytime I see such an arbitrage in consumer growth at an underpriced rate, I never want to transact because I want to capture that value.
It totally makes sense.
Right? I would rather, back to, I think financially, right? Like I'll sell in the down cycles of like, I even was at Vayner like 3 years ago, pre-TikTok, I'm like, we're in a weird spot right now. There is no heavy arb. Instagram's maturing, right? If you think about it, like organic content was not a conversation. Like we knew we were like, I was like, fuck. And sure enough, thank God Musical.ly came and TikTok came. But like there is those moments. So I think my hot take, and there's a couple follow-up questions, but is if you're gonna capture that opportunity, then you capture it because you have more leverage with that, especially when money is so cheap, right? It also becomes a game of do you have the appetite and the capabilities to do that?
Yeah, I mean, we're a venture debt, and the only reason is because I did venture.
Yep.
Right, and the venture side is everybody courts you like a really attractive woman like my wife.
Yes.
Right, and I courted her, but then all of a sudden you have her and they ignore
you take
it,
advantage
right?
of it.
So,
VCs, I couldn't agree. I mean, it's the most fascinating thing.
It is, so on the debt side.
You only need one of those companies to hit, and so you're playing that game. Subconsciously, even if you don't realize you're doing it.
They don't care, and so on the debt side, you have to talk to me.
Yeah.
Right, I played the other game.
Yeah.
So, and had success, and it's been fine. But the reality is that when you're on the debt side, you either pay your mortgage or you don't. We know what the outcome is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? As I've explained to my wife. So I'm in a bevy of more of a venture. I'm a private equity type of guy. So you have kind of like two different lanes.
What's the revenue of the business now?
About $6 million.
And what was it? COVID throws everything. It's so hard to get
COVID took the $7 million. I think it's a lie because they did 1.4 million in giveaways, right, to their friends, family, and everybody else. So we'll do 12 million this year.
You're tracking already?
We'll double, yeah.
That's great.
The problem is we don't.
All DTC still?
All
No.
DTC.
The 12
Yeah.
is layering on the authorized dealer
and golf
network.
And golf. And is golf B2B?
So we have right now, we have 70.
It's B2B to C.
We have 70 courses that purchase our units, but it's the consumer that's buying it and taking it to their course.
But the courses that are buying it.
They buy their direct units and they hold them in their fleet.
Right, and it's theirs. No, the consumer's not buying it off of them.
Correct.
So that's truly B2B.
Yeah. But in some of the country club courses, the country club is actually buying it in bulk on behalf of the members who live around the course.
Is there? I understand. Is there an opportunity to, those businesses are also trying to extract and find new revenue streams and are getting challenges. Is there an opportunity to treat every country club in America as our dealerships?
So
could you?
Floorboard to magnetic.
Yep.
So you can switch it, that's why I had to take that call. That was
yep.
the Drew Barrymore show. And they want the scooter now on site.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I pitched yesterday. And they said, oh, you're right, we want it here, not a picture. And she wants to interact with it.
Makes sense.
So with the floorboard, I made it Drew Barrymore.
Yep.
And it's a magnetic, so I can flip it.
Yep.
And like at golf courses every 4 weeks, InBev will pay $108, $180 a month for that ad because they get 60 impressions.
I totally understand.
Right, so that's where.
Is that something that you can share in that revenue?
Yes.
You think you can build that moat with are you leasing the units to the country clubs?
That's the key.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
So one of the things that is that there's this national movement of golf where, like we were talking last night, golf is meant to be kind of a single person thing, and we're stuck in a cart, and I'm going to his ball, and he's going to my ball, which
yep.
is great, but I'm a shittier golfer, so he's following me around more often.
Yep.
So golf courses for single rider play, right? You do you, I do me, we meet up at the 18th or 19th hole and have a drink kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. It's PGA or somebody did a study that they can get 4 to 6 more foursomes per day through if it's single rider play. Well, if you're paying $100 or $200 a whack for a round.
Interesting.
That's real money.
That's real money.
That's real.
That's very interesting.
Shroom did the study.
Yeah.
16,450 courses in the
Yeah.
United States alone. So they know the flights. You need the planes in the air.
Is the B2B business happening serendipitously? You have a sales team? What's happening with
I have
that?
2.
You have 2 salespeople.
1.
And you.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, I mean, so two things. One, my second favorite arbitrage in marketing right now behind TikTok is LinkedIn. And so the reason I was going down that path, I'm like, fuck, these guys really have a situation that could be fun here. If they can get their content and media engines right on TikTok and LinkedIn, and obviously the LinkedIn is literally being targeted against employees or the private equity firms, the board members, like you're literally actually targeting the person that would make the decision. Like literally you can, I mean, I don't know if LinkedIn gives you this option, so we'd have to look, but whatever the job description is of the people that run country clubs, you know, if they have a common thing or it's presidents of this, but like the other great thing about golf is it's such a passion point that even if you go broad, high net worth and say pass this on to your country club, like I do a lot of that kind of marketing that people don't think about, which is just hit the lower cost broadness and literally in the copy say pass this on to your country club. And they're like, okay. Like people actually, like the one great thing about humans is they actually listen. Just tell them what to do. And so,
I know we're scaling just because like the Masters reached out to us.
That's huge.
They want us to be around the whole week. And I'm like, a year ago they were like.
Look, you have a B2B and a B2C business, and I think TikTok and LinkedIn are in their primes, and I think what you need to leave with is understanding the media and the creative on those 2 platforms. I think you'll grow a lot.
Thank you. Cool.
Thank you.
We need someone to print those boards.
I got it.
So I think for me, Particular started out as just like more of like me being the content creator. So
of course.
For the last 4 years, like.
Do you like, you know, knowing what you're doing so well, and I've been thinking about it for a decade, do you like the content part more, or do you like, yeah, of course, I've heard.
I'm on TikTok. Yeah.
So you're excited about the Fanny Pack 6.0 that you're creating?
Both, because I feel like
they work hand in hand.
Yeah, the Particulars has allowed me to build this community of women.
Correct.
So all of the people I've interviewed ended up.
Where do the interviews live?
So they live on a website right now, which I.
And is it video?
No.
It's audio.
No. Well. Okay.
Oh, it's written. Mm-hmm. No shit. Don't do that.
One of the things I wanted.
That's a huge I'm so pumped.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, fuck, she's been able to build pretty well, and you're doing it written?
Yeah, so it's so basically what we do is interview the person, voice record it, then it's transcribed.
You should put that voice recording out.
Right, that's the question. So do I take these 100 interviews
and
have them, or
no.
do I take the best ones and how do you start a podcast, I guess, is one question.
You know what I'm worried about? Because the audio was made without the context that it's gonna be a podcast, there could be shit in there, and that's almost more work than fucking, you know?
There is like sidebar.
Yeah, exactly. And that means you'd have to re-listen to everyone because you don't want to put out something that you said or that person. So, no, I think what I would do is start video from the next interview and do video, extract audio, and transcribe to written. So
then where does the video live? On the website.
On the internet.
Well, no, I know that, but I mean,
well,
right, but my views.
Oh, by the way, more people will watch it naturally just in YouTube than they will by going to your site.
Right. Okay.
It lives on the internet.
Right.
Like, you know, it's an interesting kind of like, it's the now accepted 2.0 thinking, but you're caught in 1.5, internet 1.5 thinking, and we just have to move you. It lives on the internet. Not only that, oh, by the way, if you look at anything I do, I'm wildly busy. This entire program is not a very good use of my time if he was analyzing it, except that I'm literally making it worth my time by filming it. And the filming is in its entirety, but also in its chopped up pieces. And if I can make 4 of them get to 12 million views on LinkedIn, it becomes worth my time. So like, I want all of you to do that, which is like, in theory, you're starting from a macro, your show, and then it's creating not only, because right now you're taking an hour or 30 minutes, or how long are you interviewing?
An hour total.
An hour, and you're only getting written output where, in the way I see it,
we get video content for Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that, but that's more of like
you do it, but you have to almost like restart.
Yeah.
Whereas what I just want you to do is
Like bring that.
correct.
That
You don't have to, I mean, it's amazing now, as you know. Yeah, or you're on StreamYard or Riverside or YouTube Live. You can go live and start, like, there's just a much more efficient model of like, do the video thing, get the written, get the audio, and get the post-production micro pieces out of it. All of a sudden you're getting so much more for your time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then also like just pushing the nice pack out there into the world and developing other products coming out of that naturally.
That to me is what this is actually about.
Yeah.
I think the reason I was kind of like, if you notice, I listened, but I jumped into yours. I think you're naturally subconsciously building the right thing, and I want to keep giving you that push, which is, okay, now you're gonna take it from your subconscious to your conscious. I'm building a media company to sell stuff.
Yeah.
It's how I started this company. I don't want a service business, as I've made clear 3 times now, but in these 13 years, I incubated Resy, which I sold to Amex for $200 million. I incubated Empathy Wines, which I sold for $100 million. I incubated VeeFriends, which every one of those companies were done by people that were trained here. And so like, I view this as my operating system to because I believe that actual marketing is the only thing that's not commoditizable. Like everything else can get caught up on. Patents aren't real anymore. Like everything can be caught up to. The ability to every day by the second be a day trader of communication is impossible, which is why everyone is coming to me and other people that have that skill set, whether it's politics or selling water. And so I kind of want you to do the same thing, which is like your media is your moat, but then because you know you're making it your moat for your next thing, you might even start really thinking, what do you want that next thing to be? And then do you start interviewing that way backwards? So if you know you're passionate about flowers, you might start strategically having 5 guests in a 3-month period all in the flower business because you're attracting audience, which then, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
That. But you have to change the way you're doing the interviews.
Mine are more like technical questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're a little bit more like our content game is, we're at that plateau stage where like we did well, it's at a certain level, and we're kind of staying stagnant.
Makes sense. What do you think, if the 3 of you can jump in, what do you think is happening? If you had to like be totally naked about it, what do you think's happening? Is it a platform thing? Is it you're just doing the same shit? Is it him? Is it you? Is it?
I think, so I'm gonna chime in here a little bit, but I think that like we're producing a lot of content. We have 3 video editors, content creators. I'm sifting for trends. He's using the platforms. We use scheduling tools and everything, but it's a matter of like, I guess how many times a day we're posting versus like how much content we have that's unique. We're really trying to grasp TikTok. Some of the stuff has been working, like obviously stuff about rentals and Section 8 because it's drama. Like people love that stuff, and
I've heard drama works.
It does, but we also want to like we want to structure it as like a learning experience, a fun experience.
One thing to think about, this will help all of you, is too many people want social content to do everything instead of being the amuse-bouche to the thing you want them to do. I think, for example, I would tell you that I'm incredibly misunderstood as a businessman because my social media content can't do the depths of what I do. There is no videos where I'm talking like this, where like who I am as an actual business person does not really show up with my social. I just let my social do the appetizer part, and then with the hopes that people will go down the path. And a lot of times where you have depth and you have a real business, you get caught up because you're trying to make a little bit more happen in the content, which doesn't mean be inauthentic and just do whatever will work on social, but think strategically of like, what will this TikTok do when they decide to click the default URL in our profile instead of maybe trying to make 2 or 3 things happen in a piece. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to start with the 3D printing.
Okay.
So that's so essentially we have, you guys have all seen 3D printing.
Yeah, of course.
We have a massive gantry style 3D printer that extrudes concrete that prints houses. There's 5 companies in the entire country that do that. We're doing things that none of them are, meaning we're 3D printing the forms, the foundations, interior and exterior walls, no wood inside. We're also very close to launching, taking recycled plastic bottles to build the doors, cabinets, moldings, everything.
So cool.
We just got approvals to do roofs also. So it's 50-year warranties, 40% cheaper, 40% faster.
It's amazing.
Two guys,
How long does it take?
Two guys build a house with a robot. It takes 40 print hours to print the forms, the footings, the foundations, and the interior and exterior walls.
How big is the house?
Okay.
However big we want it to be.
Is the perimeter foundation or slab?
Right now, it's slab on grade.
Okay.
Number 2, which is coming out in the next quarter, is going to be able to do 2 stories and basements.
Is it insurable by the banks?
Yes, it is. So we just spec build to.
Good question. Sorry, that was a great question.
Was.
It was. I was like, great catch.
Yes, we just spec build. So a couple of problems. A, like the technology is now like, I was stalling my partner. I was like, stall, because the technology. A lot of guys went out. Like, there's a company called Icon.
I remember.
$160 million.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't raise money. I think they're coming out of the gate too hard, too fast. The technology isn't there. The adoption. Municipalities have to be able to understand and issue permits. We received the first 3D printed permit in the country.
That's cool.
So where Icon did it was in Texas. There was no zoning. You could just do it. We did it in New York, which is the hardest place to do it.
Of course.
So my thing is now we did that house kind of like under the cover of night. Nobody really saw it. I'm about to do one in a place called Islandia, and now we're getting the approvals in Riverhead, Long Island, to do 25-lot subdivision, which will be the biggest 3D printed subdivision in the world. And I want to bring it out, but we have the issue with obviously adoption locally from the municipalities, understanding in the building departments, and how do we make the consumer understand, like, this is what it is. This is why it's better, faster, stronger.
Why do you need the consumer to know what it is?
Well, understand it. Like, I tell somebody with 3D printing a house, they're like,
why does that matter?
for a couple reasons. A, pressure on the municipalities. At the end of the day, for all the smoke and mirrors, it's a concrete house.
Of course.
They've been doing it forever.
100%.
It's not a big deal.
That's where I'm going with this. Like, at the end of the day, the consumer's going to care about the price.
Yes.
The municipalities don't listen to the consumer. You don't have enough. The money you'll need to get enough consumers to make enough municipalities to listen is going to be a really interesting, whiteboard session that probably is going to play. Like, to me, why not just wait it out? Why not keep doing what you're doing?
We are, but it's like, so now we want to kind of unveil this to the world. So I was going to live stream the build every day to show people how it works.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that, for me, it's kind of no different than fuck the editors. It's like, fuck the municipalities, just do exactly what you're doing, hand-to-hand combat, and then literally build YouTube shows and just like and what's great about it is, and you can see it, it's still such a good story that you're one moment away from the whole thing exploding in the best way possible.
Exactly.
So I just think it becomes a game of just like, it was why my series of questions was going the way it was going. Don't worry about anything except the execution.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Sometimes when you're, I'm sure everyone can relate to this, you're in like your own little world working on it, you have to come out into the world to talk about it like, oh, am I crazy? Yeah.
When you innovate, the need for affirmation is really fascinating because it really goes one of two ways. I've been very fortunate, this is luck of the DNA draw. I not only don't need it, I almost don't want it. The longer I can be innovating without anybody understanding what I'm doing, the happier I am. I think for other people, there is that need, and that's also awesome, and I think you should feed that because it's oxygen. And I think content along the way will give that to you because it's going to come from strangers instead of maybe people in your space, which I think is important to think about.
Yeah, we're exploring different verticals with it. Like, are we, we're selling machines. I'm like, I don't want to go out and be a builder per se of 3D printed houses, although we're doing it to showcase the product. It's a lot.
Do you own the technology or
Yes.
license it?
Yeah, no, we own it. We have a patent on the tip that extrudes the concrete. Yeah. So
I want to understand that last line. It's a lot, meaning.
It's so. A lot of people are going to jump on that bandwagon.
100%.
Obviously, housing, as simple as it is, because the machine is very simple. It's not that simple to put it together. People are having a hard time getting it to work.
Yep.
We feel that we've really mastered it. So my thing is, how do we get it to as many people as humanly possible? When you're talking about...
Because you're trying to sell the machine?
Well, that's the thing. Like, my partner and I talk about it all the time. I'm like, is this a licensing play? Are we just selling the machines and then we're selling it for X, and then, per square foot, we're getting a residual on what you're printing?
Love it.
But so there's that. There's, you know, are we actually going out and building, since we have this technology that enable us to build things at 40% less? But I flip over.
And the licensing than I will in the construction. Construction is a shitty trade.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it gets commoditized down, and
everybody's gonna just take it.
the consumer's going to benefit from what you're doing.
Well, that's the thing. Like
You're not going to capture. You're not going to capture those economics.
Yeah, I flip over 100 houses a year in New York, which is like a nightmare. Like, it's just a logistical nightmare between, you know, permits and everything. So that's what I'm saying. Like, what's the path of least resistance to get this in the hands of as many people as possible that can go out and do these things, so we're not doing it?
I think the thing you can control right now is building up the reputation and brand. Yeah. People were always fascinated early in my career of why my dad was fucking always angry at me. It was like giving away the secrets. I'm like, they're not secrets. Yeah, no. I'm not giving away the secret. Everyone's gonna know this in 3 years. I'm gonna own the conversation. Yeah. I didn't invent NFTs. I didn't give away the secrets, but I have the leverage now.
And you're looked at as the authority.
100%. That's what you should do.
Yeah, and I'm thinking I'm gonna be the authority on 3D printing.
100%. Because as we all think of like what the best, because there's 3 or 4 paths, all of that becomes, I always talk about like Floyd Mayweather versus Mike Tyson. When you sit on stuff like this, everyone feels like you want to Mike Tyson it, like go out and fucking, and to me it's like, just continue to build the leverage, be smart, take fights that are easy, and then in the ring, react to what's happening. So build the leverage on awareness, and then you'll have options to decide what you want to do. Inevitably, it might come to you.
Is that time for a follow-up question?
One more real quick.
Okay, perfect. So on the fix and flip side, again, we do over 100 out a year. My goal is to do 200 before I transition out, because I literally think it will kill me. Our client is.
But that's an arbitrary number. Like why not 235 or 175?
No, of course.
Yeah,
I've heard you say that a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, it's just real. Because it helps, because then you get into some fucked up things when you actually fall in love with the arbitrary number.
Yeah, it's just like, for me, I'll
Then
feel
you
like.
hit it and nothing changed, and you're like, this sucks.
I'm very like obsessive and addictive with things, so it's like I feel like I have to be the best in what I do before I ultimately get bored and move on to the next thing. So that.
You've decided that's the number. I get it. I respect that. Okay.
So our customer is basically the person that's going to sell us a house, and we've had either they're losing it for one reason or another, either it's destroyed, whatever, and we have a hard time advertising on the platforms and things because we're restricted because of, you know, whether it's financial issues they're having or whatever it is. Like, it's harder to target those people.
100%. You just need general awareness. Like targeting is new. Yeah. Like print, direct mail, radio, television, it was all broad, right? So, you know, thank God TikTok is cheap broad. Got it?
Yeah, no.
You can target by location.
Yeah.
And that's what you can do.
Yeah, we're just
100%. And again, I said it subtly, and it's important for you guys, the wording. Where everybody makes a mistake is, here's the ad, and it says, do you have, and the answer is I don't. When you say, does anybody you know have, I go, my aunt does, and I forward it. Copy, you know, even from Mad Men to today, copy, just like everything that, the last hour, the variable of what you thought was completely predicated on every word out of my mouth, the copy. So notice what I just did? Yeah. It's not, do you have a house to sell? Or do you have this situation? Do you or anyone you know?
Yeah.
It's fucking insane. You don't even want to know what that's going to mean to your conversion. That little fucking thing.
It's one of the things I learned when I was getting referrals, because I was doing shitloads.
100%.
I just said, you know anybody you work
That's
with?
it. I don't even say you. I only start with, do you know anybody? Because there's a funny reaction of like, well, me. I'm like, okay, great, let's do that business. You know? Hiring is guessing. Firing is knowing. Like, you gotta go fast. That's how you get shit done. That's how you figure stuff out.
This is the television. And the television is the radio.
So 4Ds, motherfuckers.